No one guards the oasis. At the center of each grain of sand, an inundation awaits its signal. Zeniths herding themselves downward to drink from it, which makes a dark blossom where the sky was. With these drained heavens, shall I polish my detection equipment? Abraham was trapped with me in the seed pod, which, to split open, required emanations and a new kind of brooding. Maybe he was just doing his impression of a living room lost in the desert. Issue commandments, preserve the clan, name son after waterhole. Arduous overland route back to a pastoral memory. What can a body do but nectarize the secretions of this madness? How much now must extend beyond the station platform before a departure is officially concluded and the arrival can begin to press its vanishing point between fresh layers of contradiction? In the time it takes the stationary to suck flat a bead of ink, a wind path has already written its kingdom into the beach's flank. By horses buried in full gallop, the grave chained to the cradle. Life monad drifts into scar. Honey place cannot help but fall in with tracking system. Haunts at the entrance to a visible heaven still speak on behalf of femurs, half out of the mouth of on behalf of. And the pepper bird shall do as it pleases, for there is no such bird. Thugs are running dog races in the aqueduct. All around the plateau, butch ways of chariotry loiter, waiting for a warrior caste to establish itself. Too early for me to start drawing broad conclusions from this. Must resume reconstruction of the star clock. That, or else disappear into a novelty cocktail. How far inside these years must I travel before I need no longer call them mine? At the gun show, they're selling watermelon sorbet in hollow plastic bullets. This is my death bling, says the death god. Touch it, feel it, and seeds of the wild lettuce float past. The third signal tower fell. I dropped the implant. When we came to, we were staring at ears of corn, all chrome, 30 of them in a row, grill of the bastard's town coop. Crazy. I wasn't made for this. Joanne would be waiting dinner for me. Flank support had stayed behind to realign the optics. Anonymous black two-doors were crossing the tarmac, as always. Many are the words for rudder when the helmsman is no more. What were we going to do anyway? Issue writs? Even Sensei was gone, opening a sundry shop in his mind. Chop water, carry wood, kill your parents. So, now I'll read just a few prose blocks. They're prose poems because they look like this. They're kind of drawn from the horrible summer we just went through, predicated on certain aspects of current affairs. The first one is lovingly dedicated to the good men and women of the 113th Congress. It's entitled, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. In the days of our deployment, we made camp south of the chopper. Our rations were a hydrolyzed dirt seance, while a corridor of rage careened through our pragmatism like an Ammonite sun breaking over the ridge of the hellgasm. In silos aligned with a blackened rain, the enemy bred their children. Truth would not shake itself free from the rag of its night. We felt manipulated by the pharaohs, but the pharaohs controlled our minds. One benighted workaround after another, the imperial mandate. Willing equaled being, causes and results, laws, medals. Took a single look at this place, the demiurge, and said, we'll have to go with what we have. From our vantage, I could hear the instruments of state groan and thrash like giants chained beneath the earth. There were such eyes as these, animal sight, leaping from the cliff itself. An abyss is an ad campaign for the benefits of the principal concealments. Never the original plan, never even a resistance to it. The mills of Satan do not close for inventory. We fan our wings before some great burning. Their tips trail bits of flame. Let the ash fall where it will, and the ashfall write its story for the wind that bears it away. This one's a little lighter. Yeah, it's called The Fulfillment. We were totally booked to a megafaunal paradigm, but Intel cored too deep on the remelt. Frontal cortex for the last million years posing as old ripcord Cochise, and all Steph can talk about is overhearing Morgan call her etiquette a complex form of social origami, while another parking lot drops into the ocean. Here can never be the Eden, which is perpetually displaced by here, vanishing in phases, in a slow peel of diminishing light, as seen by the weird boy from school who knows exactly at what time of day what? Here can never be the Eden, which is perpetually displaced by here, vanishing in phases, in a slow peel of diminishing light, as seen by the weird boy from school who knows at exactly what day of the year the snake moon will rise. Now, don't do some complicated line drawing of what I just said. Deep down, everyone wants to own the candy without having to do the work of automatic thinking, which involves driving segmented vocalizations through a mind picture. Let the search for an alternate source of the Danube begin in the stomach contents of a bog corpse. The expression on his face will always remind you that you've already hit on the thing you've been looking for your whole life, but it made no sound, like the polished walnut lid of the hi-fi console in its slow descent on self-closing hinges, the moment of contact so gentle as not to occur. This is somewhere between dark and light. Grayish. Load capacity, it's called. In the history of Never Again, a casual observer always assumes the principal role. Secondary qualities fending for themselves swamp the essence. Some idiots always elected to hand out a thinking substance, whose influence is inevitably felt for decades to come. Dark money accumulates inside the crocodile-headed think tank. A mind is made up. Twisters break out along the Arctic Circle. No one takes the passage of the bill seriously, and middle distances tense in response, like a functional Western exposure fitted with sociologists. I defer to spirit, which, as the identity of being and subject, feels plenty enough like payback for all the brain lag involved, except that it smells like something coming up from the bottom of a cosmic handbag. Rockefeller laws and womb transplants, the suddenness with which major innovations are retired, governments hatching out of a ground sown with surveillance hardware. And then the sun shines on its appointed heifer. The down on a prepubescent cheek disappears. Crowdsourced honeystroke in one balloon payment helps the cheerleading squad keep its clothes on, while the Speaker of the House pets his miniature bison, folding out into a remix of Lateral Gomez and Forelimbs. Tweaking the two fundamentals of the existence game, favorable asset leverage and a drone fleet, becomes de rigueur. But heck, we can still connect to the people's history of the brain, keep it real in a sweater vest of domestic facials, make necessity feel like the third wheel it clearly is in the scheme of things. Not. Okay. Last one. I've been writing a series of poems called phrase zoos. That's all they are. They're zoos of phrases. Sometimes the guys just got to riff. And this is just glorified riffing, naming stuff that doesn't actually exist. This is the second in the series, Phrase Zoo number 2, and it's for two really great alumni of this college, Tommy Ponitz and Billy Chernikoff. Phrase Zoo 2. It's a binge code, a Hasdaddy, a Stonehenge martini. It's a champagne hatchet, a three-legged Kiev, one more rubber venom groan. It's the second fire in a basement, or a handful of glitter tossed into a comb-over. It's an internal logic plasma, a coarse dew, an average luster, maybe some sort of flow field amassing its dither. How about a man-eating peacoat in the National Laundromat, or an exploding hobby club? Let's say it's an import-export bank compressed into a nanosecond, or maybe a fan belt on a repeater god. It's an inner mantle, torso of the noontide, a Borromini chapel carved in ghostwood. It precipitates out of an underlying slip, then it hovers and speaks. It's a blue yam, a wandering sand letter, a reunion of teeth. It's one more game of death row parcheesi, at death row perpendiculars to the drift of indifference. It's the jewel feed, instantaneous reversion to a miracle. It's the real deal, the osteopath in the driveway, the magic woo time, journey that was once a house. That, or a German shepherd spliced into a bell pull. It's the dit-da in front of the da-dit, the duplication of a remote mire, a headless child looking for the horizon, guy wires holding the dream in a state of Byzantine suspension. It's the complete absurdity of the premise, or else the complete absence of doctrine. It's an overlay of hums, a tiny bruise on the ultimate fruit, stillness at the center of a vowel. It's me disincarnating my thought box between two illuminated squid panels. It's an array of transonic rotors, total bliss out among the 108 heads of Joe Beth. It's an internal time sack, a chemical plateau, 20th of June along an elevated drivetrain. It's nobody's business, or one more pair of maracas. It's a wedge of nerve cheese across the table from Lisa of Perth Amboy. It's a self-proliferating phonemic event storm. It's a palace of cilantro, and it's mighty curious. It attracts more unwanted business than an extraction point, racks up higher penalty fees than a bankrupt Aikido instructor. Someone's going to call it a vicious comparison to Venice Beach. I'm calling it an angel hired to deliver the news. Then I'm calling it a string of combustible pearls, or more hooves than sass. I'm calling it the bum rush, or a crane through the bathroom window. It goes and goes without ever having to leave the glider in the breezeway. It's a case of impetigo or a case of 5,000-year-old scotch. It's the sister-in-law behind every shaman, the savings bond behind every highboy. It's Peter's denial, a Buddha's acceptance, Lee's surrender, and a defoliated victory garden in one easy lifetime payment. It's the test score everybody tampers with, the difficult child nobody wants. Its satisfaction is stuffed with every kind of hunger. It's just getting started when it ceases. It howls in silence. There's just no end to it.